Welcome, Cathy, to the Needham Channel, and thank you so much for coming and speaking to me today about your candidacy. I noticed that you are serving on the board of League of Women Voters in Needham, and you're also a town meeting member, and you're teaching government and history at Needham High School. So first, tell me a little bit about these experiences, such as like what kind of challenges or rewards have you encountered of these roles?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here and to speak with you today. So all three of those experiences, I think that the tie together is really civic engagement. It's something that I believe in strongly. I think it's so important to have a healthy democracy and for people to participate. So in terms of my teaching, when I'm teaching government especially, but also U.S. history, I'm really trying to get the students to understand how the system works and also how they can impact the system. And town meeting is a chance for me to do exactly that, you know, to get involved and to take votes on important matters for the town. The League of Women Voters is a way to help educate voters about what the issues are and so that they can be really involved. And I find all of those things really rewarding because to me that mission of having a healthy democracy with participation is something I'm passionate about.
Mm-hmm. And what inspired you to run for select board this year?
So I really think on select board I can make a real difference. I love politics and I've been a political watcher, a political junkie my whole life, but on the national level it's really hard to make a difference, whereas I think on the local level you can make a difference. And I've wanted to serve on the select board actually for a long time, but now my children are grown and in college and I have more time. And so I think that I have, the skills and the temperament to do a good job there.
Mm-hmm. And if elected, what are the issues that you want to focus on?
So it's really interesting. I've had the chance to speak to many voters since I decided to run. And I'm hearing about a lot of issues from those voters, but I mean, I can tick off a number that rise to the top. Housing affordability is a really critical issue. We have young families that cannot move into Needham. We have seniors who would like to downsize and they can't stay in Needham, and so that's a really critical issue. Climate change is an issue for the planet, but one in which Needham can really do its part and needs to do its part to meet, the aggressive state targets that we have. Education is always important in this town. I think many people move to the town for education, and we do have some capital projects in the schools coming up. Preserving open space is critical as the town grows, revitalizing our downtown. And with all of that, underlying all of that, I think, is making sure that Needham is a welcoming place for everyone who would like to either live here, work here, visit.
Speaking about housing, I believe you know that the planning board and the select board both approved the new housing plan for Needham, and which outlined a lot of unmet housing needs in Needham and some recommended actions. Are there any specific strategies that are outlined in this documents that drew special attention to you?
Yes, I think it's a wonderful piece of work. I mean, I think that, this is, again, a great example of civic engagement. You had volunteers working on this and producing a wonderful document, looking at what's going on at the state level, other towns, looking at in depth at what's going on here. But I think there are some really important elements of that plan. So one of the things that I would really like to be part of moving forward on is what's called the MBTA Communities Act. And this is a new state law, but it actually is asking all the communities that have the T, we have the commuter rail, to allow some density near those T stations. So I think that would be a great chance to grow the number of housing units we have. It's also a green solution because people can commute by commuter rail, and it might help us to revitalize our downtown. I mean, I think housing is an issue that is across the entire Eastern Mass. We have a real problem, and so we just need more housing. And so this is an opportunity. I also think the accessory dwelling units is a great idea. We have allowed them on a very small scale, but to liberalize those rules. And an accessory dwelling unit is essentially an in-law apartment. So to allow people to maybe age in place and have, their children take over the main house while they have an apartment. That can be a great thing. And as well for the Needham Housing Authority to rehabilitate the housing that we have that has been basically in 50 years not repaired. So I think those are all three very important components, and I would be excited to work to make those a reality.
I saw that education is also a big priority on your that is listed on your website. Are there any specific programs or projects that you would like to advocate for school?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I'm a teacher. I teach in Needham High School, and so I see, firsthand what's going on in the schools. I think that, the things that are really ahead of us are the capital projects that need to rebuild Pollard as well as the Mitchell School. And in doing that, I think we need to be prudent. I think we need to be fiscally prudent, but we need to find a way to get it done. I mean, the bond rating of the town is important. It's important that we don't overburden homeowners with taxes, but we also need to invest in the town. This is one of the reasons why I'm in favor of business development, because the healthy business community in town creates tax revenue that helps us pay for these investments.
What do you see are some of the opportunities for Needham's business growth?
Well, I think we have a wonderful section near 128, our business center, so to continue to attract businesses there. I also think our downtown area, if you go around there, you'll notice empty storefronts, and so, really trying to revitalize that, I think, is great for residents so that we can shop locally. So I see opportunities there.
Mm-hmm. What criteria would you use to, evaluate the impact of business growth as we progress?
Well, you always have to consider what the impact is on the local neighborhood, right, and how people are feeling about that. But it also is important to get tax revenue. So I think that those are, some of the things to think about.
I know you talked about revitalizing the downtown area. You just talked about businesses. Are there any other aspects that you want to see change of the
Well, I
downtown
think
area?
I'd like to talk to the business owners who are there and really understand, what they see, as being helpful to grow business there. And as I mentioned, I think having more people living in that area would also help a lot. That create foot traffic, so that businesses can earn money.
All right. And talking about the Climate Action Plan Committee, are there any specific areas that the committee is currently working on or to be working on that you would like to facilitate?
Yeah, so, as many people may know, the Climate Action Plan Committee did recommend community electricity aggregation, which is a way for the town to buy essentially in bulk, to buy electricity, and also to have a better mix of electricity, of more green and renewable electricity. This is something that is just at the beginning, and it all has to be negotiated. And I think that's a very high leverage plan. So that's something that would be very exciting to work on. As the committee comes forward with other recommendations, I'd really look forward to seeing those, whether it's on the building codes, whether it might be on town vehicles, town buildings. There's many things for us to look at. And I think it's also good to look at what other cities and towns are doing in this regard, the things that we might adopt.
Would you plan on engaging broader community to help Needham reduce carbon footprint?
Yes, I think that will be important ultimately, because that's where most of the energy use is. But that's why actually the community electricity aggregation is potentially so powerful, because that is all the households in Needham. If you get a better mix of electricity and more of it renewable, that has a lot of potential impact.
And you also talk about open space on your website. Would you like to elaborate on that topic?
Well, I think open space is really important for a number of reasons. I mean, first of all, the beauty of the town, but second of all, for reasons of recreation. And, we've learned about the importance of open space and nature for mental health, et cetera. So I think, we have to balance things as we move forward. If we're looking, for example, at bringing in some more density near our T stations and a slowly increasing population, at the same time, we need to make sure that we're preserving that open space for everyone to enjoy.
We've talked about your civic engagement and your priorities if elected. Are there any other aspects of your life that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a long and varied career. I mean, I guess I would say many of those things I think would be relevant and help me on the select board. And I think what unifies that career is that I've always wanted to keep learning, and I've always wanted to feel that I have made a difference. So my first job was actually at the CIA, which was very exciting. And then after that, I went to business school and I worked as a management consultant. And I think that the discipline of that job, of looking at large amounts of data as a way of making decisions and working with numbers, I think that would help me a lot on the select board in terms of analysis and decision making, and making sure that, you know, on the one hand, I'm an educator and I support that, but on the other hand, I understand the need for fiscal prudence, you know, in the town. And the other aspect of that work that I think is relevant is that as a management consultant, you're always looking for who's doing something really well. You know, what is the best practice? And that's something with 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. There are many innovative solutions that other communities have tried that I would like us to take a look at. And then after that, I did do some work for the State League of Women Voters, lobbying for voting rights. And so involvement with state government can also be important for us as we look for resources.
Tell me a little bit about your connection to Needham. Like, how long have you been living here? And yeah.
So I've lived in Needham for 25 years, and with my husband, Sean, and this is where we've raised our two daughters. And I think Needham is really an exceptional town in terms of its community, you know, and how people care for each other. And any time that things need to get done, people really step up. And so, you know, I think it's a very special place. I feel very fortunate to live here, and I'm very devoted to the town.
Mm-hmm. What unique qualities do you think you can bring to the table as a select board candidate?
Well, I think that I can be a person who will really help us move forward in the town and continue to progress. I don't think we can stand still. I think we need to change with the times. I mean, whether that is in a more of a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, whether that's action on climate and housing. We need to continue to invest in this town, but at the same time, you know, we do need to be fiscally prudent. We need to think about the impact of what we do on every single constituency. I think I would bring, you know, that kind of balance and that kind of thinking. I also would say I'm a great listener, and I really, as I've said, I value civic participation. So I really want to understand what the community wants. You know, the local government should be a vehicle for getting done what the community wants. And so I value that very highly.
Thank you, Cathy, and thank you so much for coming in, and I wish you good luck on April 11th.
Thank you so much.